Before I start my opening statements, I would like to request the Surah Al-Fatiha, the key to thank our Creator God for His infinite blessings upon us and allowing us to strive in His cause. So let's do the Surah Al-Fatiha all together. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. It's such a warm feeling to be with real family. God, our Creator, tells us in Quran, in chapter 49:10, that the believers are members of one family. We read in Quran, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, 49:10. The believers are members of one family. You shall keep the peace within your family and reverence God that you may attain mercy. This concept of real family is easily understood by the fact that all believers will be united together for eternity. Unity is a natural process among the believers that includes feelings of love and positive energy while being together, and the belief in God makes them to be united. Conferences are prime opportunities to experience this. We should understand the blessings of congregating with other brothers and sisters in conferences. I have summarized my thoughts of what we should achieve from these conferences in a few points, God willing. The first point is our goal. What is our goal for coming to conferences? Our goal as a submitter should always be commemorating God any chance we get. God says in Quran, what are the characteristics of the believers? 9:12. They are the repenters, the worshipers, the praisers, the meditators, the bowing and prostrating and advocators of righteousness and forbidders of evil, and the keepers of God's laws. Give good news to such believers. Also praising God for His magnificent creation by sharing scientific information related to them, watching a program regarding God's creation or learning a research about them increases our knowledge and faith. Unifying our belief with brothers and sisters throughout the world through Quran studies and discussions and researching specific topics in depth for the benefit of religious education and sharing it with others. The second point that I feel we have to really reflect on it is.
Is it not working? Try again.
I want the responsibility. Is responsibilities. We have a great responsibility to uphold God's laws after having received the purified message of God in our time. It's a great blessing to be among the first generation, but this blessing includes a great responsibility. God says in chapter 3, verse 110, who are the best community that they uphold God's laws. You are the best community ever raised among the people. You advocate righteousness and forbid evil, and you believe in God. If the followers of the scripture believed, it would be better for them. Some of them do believe, but the majority of them are wicked. We also have to set the highest standard of moral behavior as a submitter by treating each other in the best possible manner, and to be truthful, equitable, honest, polite, and not to hurt anyone. God says in chapter 17, verse 53, tell my servants to treat each other in the best possible manner, for the devil will always try to drive a wedge among them. Surely the devil is man's most ardent enemy. The third point is obedience. Our disobedience towards our Creator and not upholding God's absolute authority has caused our exile from God's kingdom. And this life is the third and last chance for us to be redeemed. We must uphold God's laws and beware of deterioration of religion. We learn from Quran that if we are not steadfast in upholding God's commandments, eventually will cause deviation from the right path. Believers recognize the truth like they recognize their own children. We read in Quran in chapter 2, verse 146, those who receive the scripture recognize the truth herein as they recognize their own children, yet some of them conceal the truth knowingly. And believers never dispute the truth. We read in 11:118, had your Lord willed, all the people would have been one congregation of believers, but they will always dispute the truth. Only those blessed with mercy from your Lord will not dispute the truth. This is why he created them. The judgment of your Lord has already been issued. I will fill hell with jinns and humans all together. The fourth point.
That's all there's on there.
I had the fourth point.
I don't know. Go.
Okay. The fourth point is awareness of deterioration of religion and learning from history. Time is a primary factor that will escalate opposition to the absolute truth, and it is our duty to preserve the pristine purity of submission to God alone. For example, today's Christianity was invented 325 years after Jesus, and the first hadith was introduced 250 years after Muhammad. We read in Quran about the deterioration of religion in chapter 57:16. Is it not time for those who believe to open up their hearts for God's message and the truth that is revealed herein? They should not be like the followers of the previous scriptures whose hearts became hardened with time, and consequently many of them turned wicked. Also in 28:45 we read, but we established many generations, and because of the length of time, they deviated. Nor were you among the people of Midian reciting our revelations to them, but we did send messengers. Promoting any new ideas or adding new steps to our worship practices is another way that causes deterioration of religion. We see many Muslims have added steps to ablution and extra prostrations after Salat, and all the books of Hadith and Sunnah of Prophet shows how much Satan has distorted all the worship practices and came up with thousands of dietary prohibitions and new religious laws instituted by religious leaders and scholars. Also, after the death of Prophet Muhammad, the addition of 2 false verses to Quran caused a division and created different sects in Islam. Insertion of opinion is another way the religion becomes deteriorated. Unfortunately, sectarianism is now occurring in our time in a different ways, like through the promotion to minimize or nullify the teachings that God has sent through his messenger. Disputing any part of the information or explanation that God has sent through his messenger will cause disunity and disarray among the submitters. This eventually leads to the deterioration of religion, and we see this already has happened. For example, many people, many so-called submitters, under the banner of God alone and Quran alone, have claimed to be Semites and follow the teachings of God's messenger. In reality, their belief is so different from the original message of God. Numerous examples prove the reality of what they believe. They are trying very hard to prove English version of Quran has mistakes, claiming that mathematical miracle of Quran is an ongoing research and is not incontrovertible. Reinterpreting perfect happiness as to feel good, but not necessarily experience it physically. So hypothetically, a body full of disease can belong to a happy person. Advocating that God's kingdom starts only in paradise, and many more. They present all these blasphemies to the world under the banner of submission. We have to understand that all these deviations originate back to ego and disobedience, but not upholding God's absolute authority. That is why killing our ego is one of the first commandments. On the other hand, we want to redeem ourselves and not to commit the ancient crime we all committed in the high society and listen to our Creator. During this process, we will face a lot of opposition and insults, but the believer's priority is only pleasing God, and they are not discouraged because the reward is awesome. We read in 3:173, when the people say to them, people have mobilized against you, you should fear them. This only straightened their hearts and faith, and this only straightened their faith, and they say, God suffices us. He is the best protector. They have deserved God's blessings and grace. No harm ever touches them, for they have attained God's approval. God possesses infinite grace. Satan has been successful through ages to dupe people into fulfilling his expectations, but we should do our best by the grace of God to preserve the purity of the message. We read in chapter 34, verse 20, God found them readily fulfilling his expectations. They followed him except a few believers. And we read in chapter 22, verse 78, that messengers are witnesses among the believers, and the believers are the witnesses among the people. Now, let's talk about the reward of submission to God alone. We read in Quran, in chapter 24, verse 55, God promises kings and queens on earth. God promises those among you who believe and lead a righteous life that he will make them sovereigns on earth as he did for those before them, and will establish for them the religion he has chosen for them, and will substitute peace and security for them in place of fear. All this because they worship me alone. They never set up any idols beside me. Those who disbelieved after this are truly wicked. The reward of following God's religion and total submission to him is fantastic, and we read in Quran, happiness now and forever, 1062. Absolutely, God's allies have nothing to fear, nor will they grieve. There are those who believe and lead a righteous life, for them joy and happiness in this world as well as in the hereafter. This is God's unchangeable law, such is the greatest triumph. At the end, I wish we all have a wonderful conference full of energy and soul growth, and I would like to end with this verse from Quran. I think this is the warning to human race, and inshallah we won't do or repeat what the people before us who have deviated did. We read in chapter 5, verse 54, O you who believe, if you revert from your religion, then God will substitute in your place people whom he loves and who love him. They will be kind with believers, stern with the disbelievers, and will strive in the cause of God without fear of any blame. Such is God's blessing. He bestows it upon whomever he wills. God is bounteous, omniscient. God bless you all. Thank you. All praise be to God, Lord of the universe.